brought to you by MuleSoft, provider of the industry-leading Anypoint platform for APIs.
Okay then, let's get started. Thank you all for coming. My name's Andrew Seward. I am a technical product manager at Ascendex. Ascendex, I'll talk about Ascendex in just a sec, because I've got a slide for it. I'm preempting my slides. Okay, what we're going to cover today, the session's called Your API Deserves More Respect, Make It a Product. Let's make sure that this clicker's working. This session's called Your API Deserves More Respect, Make It a Product. And I'm going to be talking about why we need to be treating our APIs differently to how we're currently treating them. Some people are ahead of the game on this, others not so much, but I think it's certainly worth exploring. Today we will cover a brief introduction to me, where I'm from, why I consider myself worthy of speaking on this subject, what your API is a product. I'm going to explain why your API is a product and why that matters. I'm going to be talking about treating your API as a product, what it actually means to treat your API as a product, and I'll be talking about getting the company on board, getting everybody on board. It's not enough just for you to know, it's a product that. You actually have to make some changes in your organization to sort of make that happen. And then we'll have a discussion about it, because a lot of you may have already been through this experience or had solved some of these problems yourselves, probably, and possibly a lot better than I have. So there's probably a good diversity of views on this in the room once we get into it. Okay, so this is Ascendex. This is various people who work at Ascendex. Look, there's me. Jack over there, he works there, he's a developer. And Sonny, he's one of our sales team. And I'm a product manager at Ascendex. What Ascendex does, we do SMS text messaging. We provide services for SMS text messaging. We provide an API that allows companies to connect their software up and have their software send and receive SMS messages. You can also check the status of messages, and there's a bunch of features for that, managing your account, that sort of thing. And we also have a couple of other products as well alongside our API. We have a web application that allows people to log in and type in text messages and send them, or upload spreadsheets of data and have that send messages to that. And we also have an email application that people can use. So what it does is you can email a mobile number at Echo Email, which is the name of the software, and it will convert it to an SMS text message and send it. That's kind of for people who have strict firewalls, big companies, that sort of thing. They're not allowed on the internet, so it works very well for them. And so that's a few different products, and but our main product is the API. That's our biggest product. It represents about 60 to 70% of our business, depending on whether it's Christmas or not. And that creates some interesting challenges around how we look at that API, which I'll go into in just a moment. So, we're also hiring, I've been asked to mention. We're hiring. It's a great place to be a developer. We do lots of cool, we have a good attitude to development, pair programming, test-driven development. We're very committed to the quality of our software. So, if you want to come to Nottingham and be a developer. All right, pop that one in there. Okay, so your API is a product. It has features, quirks, bugs, customer journeys, things that are great, things that aren't so great, things that suck, things that customers, it's got packaging, it's got instructions, people who love it, and people who don't love it so much. What I'm going to do now, if my colleague Jack thought, he's just going to hand out some Mars bars. Jack, pass them out. And I want you to take that Mars bar, you can eat it, you can hold it, look at it, inspect it. You've seen a Mars bar before. But yeah, do whatever you want with it. But it's to illustrate the point. Do you know what? In the trial, we didn't actually test how long it takes to hand out Mars bars. And it turns out Jack hasn't built up some skills in this area, so he's not as quick as I would like. Come on, Jack. How fast can you hand out Mars? Throw them. Okay, so once you get your Mars bar, have a look at it. It's got a packaging. It presents itself. It doesn't necessarily have to say that it's chocolate inside. You recognize from the shape of it. This is some chocolate. But it has all of these things. Hopefully not bugs. We only bought them yesterday. But it does have, has things that people don't like about it. Oh, it's when sometimes it can be. Well, there's nothing that you don't like about a Mars bar. They're great. But diabetes, heart disease, that sort of thing. But also, things that you like about it. Tastes very nice. It's got. If you look on the back of it, it tells you what's inside it. You probably don't need instructions. It's a relatively simple product to operate, but it is a product. But an API has all of those same properties. And I'll be relating a lot of what I'm saying to these Mars bars. So really get to know them. Get to know that Mars bar. And there's probably you can have as many as you want. We probably bought too many. So does your API have these things? Does it have a target audience? Does it have a marketing strategy? Does it have a sales strategy? A development plan, a support process? It probably does. It probably has all of these things. Sorry, I'm not talking to the microphone enough. I'm on video. Keep forgetting that. It probably does. But if you're not treating it as a product, how you think about those things, it sort of leaves you. It leaves you in a situation where those things are likely to be flawed. If you're not thinking about, well, this is a thing that someone's coming to solve a problem with, then it's very hard to support people in the process of solving those problems. Your users don't actually want an API. All your API customers, if you provide an API, who here works for a company that provides an API or sells an API or consumes an API? So the people, you can see this from both sides. They're not actually coming to you go, hey, can I have an API? I love them. No, what they're saying is what they want is a product that solves their problem. They have an immediate problem to solve. I need to initiate the sending of a text message. I need to retrieve some data. I need some information that I can make use of or do some processing with. They are just trying to solve a problem. They're not trying to just for the fun of it play with an API. Although sometimes they are trying to do that. But I can relate to that. But generally, they are just trying to find the easiest way to get from A to B, the easiest way to solve this problem. And that's an important distinction. So that's a pretty easy thing to sell in the room here. Is there any much disagreement to that idea? It's a pretty easy sell. This is API Con after all. It's easy to sell to you guys. Yeah, it's a product. We're selling it. That makes a lot of sense. But that's not such an easy sell generally. Why don't we already treat APIs as products? We're definitely not treating them as products. Why aren't we already in a position where we're just, okay, it comes out. When they released the Mars bar, they didn't have to go, hang on a second, guys. We need to treat this as if it's a thing that we're selling to people that we're trying to make appealing, and then get customers on board. That no one had to say that. It just happened. But APIs are different from that. APIs haven't existed for that long. So who remembers the year 2000? You remember that? You remember that? Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and X-Men came out. That doesn't seem that long ago. And I went to see the Manic Street Preachers at Cardiff Millennium Stadium on the Millennium Eve, and tried to impress a girl, didn't work. And that wasn't actually that long ago. But like before, at that time, no APIs as something that could be used as a product didn't even exist. The first thing that we recognize as an API today didn't come out for another couple of months. So that would have been the Salesforce API. So in our cultural consciousness, this idea hasn't permeated. We think about APIs a lot. We're developers, we're API providers. We think about APIs a lot, but we're not people. We're not most people. Most people aren't thinking about APIs. They're certainly benefiting from the result of those APIs' existence, but they're not really thinking about APIs. And have a look at the Mars bar. Look at that Mars bar. You can see it. You can touch it. It's a thing that exists. If someone hadn't seen a Mars bar before, you could go, here you go. And then solve. They know what a Mars bar is. It's that. There. It's just there, look. And it's a thing that exists in the world. I can open it up and figure out it's probably food. I'll put it in my face. But an API isn't a thing. It's not a thing. You can't just go, hey, look, there's an API. Look at it running around. Stop it. You can't touch it. You can't directly interact with it. And if you're a non-technical person, it's going to be a really difficult concept to grasp. An API, hey, by the way, can you sell this API? What API? well, it kind of, I mean, I can't show you it. It just, trust me, it exists. There's no way that you personally can ever see that it exists, but it does. Trust me, it does. So that's an interesting problem, and that's kind of why we don't already treat them as an API. We created APIs. The sort of basis of an API was just the idea that we want to get some data that's over here and move it over there. And so that's how we treat it. That's how we developed our APIs. We just want to make a computer system over there do a thing, and then we want to get some information back from it. That's what an API is in its essence. So we have always approached it as this sort of just sort of technical thing, a connectivity thing, solving a problem. Oh yeah, we need to connect to that system. Let's make it nice and accessible. Oh wait, actually we could charge for this. Okay, let's charge for it. But it's still just a thing that we, just a data transfer, I suppose. And so on the one hand, if you're non-technical, that's a mind-boggling concept to understand. And if you are technical, then you kind of are so in-depth with it. You're sort of thinking about it as just, I'm just transferring some data over here. It was easy to use because I followed this standard. That's not treating it as a product. At Ascendex, we have an extra problem because we have this, which is our web application. This is Echo. Echo is certain set of our customers, they log in, and it's very easy to understand. This you can show someone. So if you want to know what Ascendex does, you could show them this. You could say, oh, well, there's the from. You write a message from blah, blah, blah to telephone number, message, hello there, buy my stuff, and click send, and off it goes. And that's a very easy and visual way to explain what Ascendex does. But the problem is that isn't what Ascendex does. This page, that you actually have to physically write out a message, doesn't represent a very large part of Ascendex's business. Tiny, tiny part of Ascendex's business. But because it's such an easy way to understand it, in Ascendex, it kind of permeated that this is what Ascendex does, because no one ever challenged that idea. That is just a tiny part of business. Echo actually has, if you're doing upload and send, that's quite good for sending marketing messages out. So that's a much larger part of the business, but it's not as a visual way of explaining it. That is a product you can see. It's a product, I can see it. Even though it's not in my hand, I can still see it as a product. So that's a difficult thing we have at Ascendex, where we have to say, well, actually, yeah, I know you can understand that, but that isn't really what we do. It's a nice thing alongside what we do, but it's not actually what we do. So the first sort of step in sort of changing how we approach our APIs and how we approach selling them to our customers is challenging how we talk about our APIs. So I've got an exercise for you now. Who here, just put your hand up. I asked this earlier, but if you work for a company that provides an API, hands up, hands up, hands up. All right, keep those hands up. Keep them up. I saw you. Hands up. Okay, those of you who don't have your hands up, can you just make sure you are within talking distance of someone who does have their hand up? So I can see you. So some of you go over there and talk to some people who haven't got APIs. Let me see. Okay, so what I want you to do, just we're going to take a couple of minutes. I want you to go over there, and I want the people who have an API to explain their API to the other person. Okay, go. On your feet. On your feet, soldiers. Okay. How did that go? You feel like you've learned something about each other's APIs? That's good. So, okay, did you mention any of these things? When the person was talking to you about the APIs, or the person if you're the person that was talking, did you mention any of these things? REST. Mention REST, how restful it is, how great it works with this programming language over here. It's great. It's got Node integration. It works really great. How it's secured, API keys, OAuth, basic auth, that sort of thing. So that's a problem. I mean, I see you saying no. I don't like that. You feel good about yourself. Yes. All right then. Okay, so you've got to talk about what you can do with it and why. So those are still useful pieces of information. How do I access it? How do I secure it? But they're probably not involved in my buying decision. Talk about what you can do with it and why, not how it works. So, and that's something we fall into. If you think about the roots of APIs, the trap we often fall into is like thinking of it still as that data transport mechanism. Oh, it gets data from over here, and it puts it over there. And that's not untrue. It's definitely absolutely accurate. But it's not why I'm interested in your API. Again, I just want to solve my problem. So if someone said to you, let's take the example of the Mars bar again. Like someone comes to you and says, oh, what's this Mars bar do then? What is that Mars bar? And you're like, oh, okay, well, basically what it does is it's a sort of collection of glucose, and your body absorbs it inside your intestines. Imagine that's how it works. And then it sort of gives you energy you can run. And you're like, oh, that sounds delicious. I'll have one. No one's going to say that. You wouldn't say that. You just say it's a chocolate bar. It tastes nice. It makes you feel good. The chocolate taste makes you feel good. You probably don't mention that it might make you fat if you have absolutely loads of them. But you talk about, okay, well, it's just a snack. You enjoy it. It makes you feel good. Gives you a bit of energy. Helps you work, rest, and play. I mean, that's not strictly true. I suppose it is sort of true, but you're talking about why and what you can do with it and why. How is it of benefit for you to eat that Mars bar? Oh, it makes me taste nice. It makes me feel good. So we have to talk less about, like, this is an example of Ascendexes. This is one of our French leaflets that, when I was I've not been a product manager at Ascendex for that long. We've not actually had product managers for that long. Before that I was a developer. But one of the things is, I happened upon this French leaflet that we were giving out at a conference in Paris. And there's lots of problems here. It's in French, which doesn't help you guys. But one of the big problems is, well, one of the first things it says is, oh, .NET, PHP, Ruby, Java, Perl, Delphi. Yeah, I don't care. What does it do? Why? Like, if I'm a .NET, it's an HTTP API. It doesn't matter what programming language you use. You can use it. But so that's kind of redundant at this point. At this point, when I'm just looking at this leaflet for the first time, what I'm really interested in is, hey, what does it do, and why do I care? So one of the things what's my bugbear that I really hate in API, sort of API advertising, is code. Look, there's a picture of some code. I can't tell you. It gives me a little stabbing pain in my kidneys. But every time I see it, and it's quite common, because you can sort of see why that situation comes about. Because if you think you're working in the marketing department for that company, and you sort of think, well, they've got this API. What does it do? I don't know. It's like they use it to send text messages, which is good. But what is it? I don't know. Developers use it. It's like Cody. I don't know. So stick some code on there. It looks cool. It's like the Matrix. But if you think about you're the guy who goes to that conference, no developers are coming to that conference, by the way. It's a sales conference. So it's you're the guy who's got a business, and he's like, oh, should we use this API, SMS? I'm going to speak French for this characterization. Should we use the API? Well, that looks complicated, doesn't it? Code. I don't know. Probably not, because it looks really complicated. It's got code on there. I don't understand code. Don't understand it. Complicated is expensive. We've got that software. I had to pay a load of money for that software that we developed for our staff. Yeah. I don't like code. It costs money. So you might as well just go, okay, but by the way, this is really complicated. The Ascendex API, it's crazy easy to use. It's just making a web request. You make a web request, sends a text message. It's really simple. We work really hard to make it simple. But you stick code on there. I think this is a PHP example or something like that. And I don't use PHP, so I don't know. I didn't get it. So it looks complicated to me too. So don't stick code on there. Don't talk about how it works. How you integrate with that. That's not the discussion yet. We're not talking about that yet. We're selling the product. What we're talking about is, hey, why is it good? We send text messages. It's good because of this. So more of this. I'm going to show you. I've done a lot of work with the marketing team at Ascendex. Now I'll talk about how the process went through. But we recently launched a new website. I'm going to show you our new website, a live example. How dangerous. So this is it's a bit slow. Turn your phones off. So this is the API section of our website. And the first thing we did, we talk about SMS. We mentioned SMS. We mentioned that you can send large volumes of SMS through it. And then we show you what it does. So we say, okay, we've got a little animation that plays. It's a little bit slow loading. Come on. like I say in live example, it's very risky. Okay, so it shows you, okay, this is your app. You click confirm order, it sends the message. So it goes to the Ascendex API. Your app talks to the Ascendex API and sends a text message. So the idea is, the point of this, and it shows you on a phone, this is the result of that behavior. That's the benefit of using the Ascendex API. Actually, so when we talk about the API, we're not talking about, hey, it's a HTTP, it's RESTful, it's great with Node, it's great with .NET. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is it does this. The result of that behavior is this. And then we talk about the features. We go on to speak about the features. We talk about the features. It does this. It does this. Hannah outside with the red hair, you've probably seen her. She wrote a lot of this. She's great. And then testimonial from a customer. Oh, it's great. SMS API is really great. That's the kind of way we want to talk. That's treating it as a product. So that's the... Oh, hold on. Oh, God damn it. Oh, no, I've really messed things up now. Okay, let's pop it back on. Oh, and there are my notes. Oh, I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Getting Google Docs to play with these clickers, it's hard. It's hard. I'm learning in front of you. So that's a different way of looking at it. We're not talking about how you connect to it. We're talking about the result of that behavior. I work for one of our customers is Ocado, so they deliver your shopping. So when we get to talk about it like that. They they have an event in their system. It triggers. It speaks SMS. It tells the customer, but hey, your shopping's on its way. The customer gets a better experience. You save money on fewer missed deliveries. That's the language we use when we talk about the API. We stop talking about technical things because sometimes we're talking to technical people, sometimes we're not. But in either case, they only care what you can do with it. So API as a product. We're talking about API. We talk about these things first. What it does, how customers can benefit from it. Ooh, I've highlighted that one because that's big. You spend all your time doing that, and how easy it is to use. I want to know that it's not hard. When you're saying things like, oh, it's RESTful and things like that, all you're really saying is it's easy to use, and that's what they want to hear. Talk about these later, how it does what it does, how you integrate with it, how RESTful it is, how well it works without stacks and Hadoop clusters and which, I do want to know that at some point, but that's kind of the point where I'm kind of on board. So this is the hard bit. This is the tricky bit. Like, how do you get the team on board with this idea? So you're on board. You get it. You kind of have to talk about it like this. We have to stop. We have to think about our APIs in a different way. But you've got a whole company that doesn't. Either they're talking about the API as if it's a transport mechanism, or they are talking about it as if it's, I don't know, a developer thing. Nerds. Code. They don't understand. You haven't given them any insight. So how do you get them on board? I don't have the whole answer here. I've got a bit of the answer, and I would definitely like to hear how you guys have kind of sort of worked on this problem as well. But we did training. Everybody at Ascendex, we've got offices in Nottingham, Barcelona, Melbourne, and we're opening one soon in Austria, but it's not open yet. But even so, everybody at Ascendex got API training. Everybody. And everybody who joins Ascendex, this was in June, they all get the same API training. George here is a developer, and Demi, she works in sales. Debbie works in support, and Stacy works in finance. They all got the same training. The training covers what it does, what an API actually is. What is the API? We talk about that. We get them using the API. You can use our API through just using Google Chrome. They understand Google Chrome. We show them using it through Google Chrome. We explain what they're getting back and why it looks like and how it's the same as what they see in the web application that they're used to seeing. And then we talk about the more important stuff like why people like it, the sorts of customers that tend to use the API, and what problems they tend to solve with the API. And then why it's good for Ascendex. Like, well, our API customers, they tend to send more messages than other kinds of customers, because that's what's so great about APIs. Is once you've set it up, it's really easy to use. It just carries on working forever until you do something different. And also, like, the support costs are way cheaper. API customers are much cheaper to support, so we talk about that. We really do want you selling the API because it's great for us and it's great for the customers. They get a much better customer experience, and we get to sell our API. We send more messages. That's kind of our objective. So that's good. We talk them through that process, why it matters, and also why it matters about how we present it, what language we use when we present it. When we talk about our API, we say these things. We craft the customer experience in this way. And what's more, there's more training. I'm not finished this process yet, but more specialized training for different teams who are involved with it. So the sales team, the support team, the marketing team, and different people in different territories. We also find different territories have different sort of flavors of usage on the API as well, so we kind of tailor it to them as well. So training is the main thing, and also just regularly talking to them about how we handle the API. As a product manager, it helps if you've got a product manager in the organization, or if you are a product manager, it's way easier because you can just make sure, like, well, okay, well, if we're creating some marketing material, I want it to meet these guidelines. But even so, just getting people on board with the idea of talking about it in a different way, it's just training and talking to people is the answer. Regularly discussing the issue with people. So everybody who's involved with your API has to understand what your product actually is. And who uses it? Who are we selling this thing to? It's probably not the same people who's using, if you've got a web application or any other kind of application, it's not the same people. And then how they benefit, what is the benefit of that? How it performs. Is it good at what it does? Does it break down when people tend to use this? They don't like this. The security thing, they're not sure about that. Or what are the things that people don't like about it? What are the things that people love about it? What are the things we want to tell people about? What kind of customers want this feature of it? And then how we talk about it. This is the key one. Again, bold. Definitely, this is the key one. The language we use is really important to changing how we think about it. Because when you change about how you talk about your API, you'll change how you think about it, how your organization thinks about that API. It's all based on the language you use when you talk about it. So if it's just a thing that you never talk about, it'll be a thing that people never think about. But if it's a thing that you talk about as a product, as a feature, we talk about the benefits, that's how people will think about it. And that's how they'll craft what they do in their day jobs when they're dealing with that product. The language that you've used to explain it to them and they use to talk about it, that's what they'll use in their jobs. So, today, so far, we have covered a brief introduction. What your API is a product, why it matters that your API is a product, treating your API as a product, and getting everyone on board. Now, I would like to have a bit of a discussion. I have some microphone jiggery-pokery to do now. Jack, can you help me with this? So I kind of want to hear, first of all, is there any questions? Yes. Wait, just hold on a second, Jack. Can you stand by?
No, honestly, it's fine.
No, we need it for the videos.
Oh, right, sorry.
It's down to you.
Hello, my name is Joyce. I'm a dev outreach for a company called Mendeley. So we've just launched version 1 of an API where we've rewritten it alongside 3 of our internal clients. So that's great. We use the API to get our products out there. So for example, we've got an institutional product, and it's used by librarians in like colleges in America and stuff. They're not our target audience. So if you look at our developer segmentation exercise that we did, it's kind of flipped upside down. So we want to look for startups in academic spaces. We want to look for people like that. So I'm really trying to push the API into the product team, and I'm kind of coming in, and they've got their strategy for the year. So it's kind of, how do you, if you had a Venn diagram, how do you put us in the middle a little bit? Because librarians are not my target audience, but for example, someone's written a Kinsing camp, like new device types. So that's like a lovely example of someone using the API, but it's not part of our product suite. So I don't know how, when we're doing a kind of a marketing target audience strategy, how to put the two of them together.
So to answer that, I think that there's, I think the key is don't They're not the same. They're not the same. It's a different product. It has a different audience. So the one product you've got is aimed at librarians, and there's a...
All uses the API, right? So
Well, yeah, but they're using a different product. They are still using the API, but they don't know it. And actually, in terms of the reality of their customer experience and the people who decide to purchase it and the people who actually use it day to day, the librarians don't have to know that the API exists. One of the great things about selling an API, a lot of your customers don't know it exists. They just know the result of that behavior, and that's really good because it
does make it hard in a product meeting to fly your little flag, though.
Yeah,
you know.
it definitely does. But you're introducing a new product, so it's probably going to get less traction than the existing product. But you're going to have you probably want to take some individuals and make them specialists in that area. Well, one of the things we do at Ascendex is in our support team and our marketing team, we have specialists on the API. And what they do is they think about that API and how they're going to sell it and how they're going to use it and how they're going to talk about it. And then other people who are involved in that, they tend to go to them as a sort of a piece of, as a font of information. But like we have basically the same problem. Like we have an entrenched product that everybody really easily understands, and then we have this other thing that, despite it being our bread and butter, not everybody understands it. So it's hard to explain. So I think part of it, you're going to have to be patient. It's going to be a gradual shift. But what you're going to be able to do is take a small amount of resource and prove your point. That first of all, this is different. It's totally separate. We're going to sell it in this way, and then prove it with the results. One of the things that Ascendex are sponsoring this event, that's a big deal. It's a big deal for me. That's a big deal in terms of our marketing to the development community. That it's not something that Ascendex has done a lot of in the past, because not everybody understood that going and selling our web applications at a healthcare conference, which we're also sponsoring this week, is the same thing as marketing an API to a development community. So it's a different product, it's a different audience, different use cases. You just kind of have to make a small version of it in the same way you would a brand new product. You gradually prove your point, you get more sales, you demonstrate the value of those sales, and then you use that to build more and gradually build. But it's not going to flip, and it probably has to be separate. It's not that they can't share the lessons, but yeah. Any other questions? Cool. Okay. Does anyone else have any experiences of this in their organization, changing, treating an API as a product, or selling an API? I bet you do. You're a product manager for an API.
Go on then.
Tell people about that.
Okay, so I guess for us it's slightly different. Basically, I work for a company called Hybris. You won't have heard of us, but I can probably guarantee everyone's bought something from someone using our software in the last week or two. Basically, we provide a platform or a toolkit that is used by people to then build large-scale commerce websites. Big retailers, if they need a website, they can customize. So we don't build these for the customers. So actually our target market, there's 2 points. The customers decide they want to use the technology, but I actually tend to talk more to partner firms that will then be building it out for people. And essentially at my point, we don't make any more money if the partner decides on the project that they want to use these APIs, because we essentially provide example APIs that in a way that they can be built and extended for that custom application. But my viewpoint is kind of trying to convince partners that here's some of the stuff you can do with it. The more you do that, the more likely you are to win pitches to these large companies, and then as a result, do the implementation for them and use our software stack.
So you're selling that benefit. You're going to get more. You're going to more likely win your pitches when you go if you use our software.
But the target market's slightly different because I'm not pitching necessarily to, or I'm very rarely talking to CIOs at the end company that uses it. I'm more often talking to the development partner that will then go and build these solutions out for people. So there's kind of a slightly smaller mix. A lot of the time, so for example, I did a presentation in the beginning of this year at our partner expo, and that was kind of more aimed at, here's a few things, here's some cool ideas about the stuff you can go and build with it, here's a point to an example of how you could quickly set up in half an hour and play with it, and then actually I want you guys to go and come back with some kind of interesting different use cases for it.
Oh, okay, so was that like a hackathon or?
Not so much a hackathon. We may do one of those in the future, because this is during a day when there are 15 other sort of slots. It was kind of more at that point saying, here's all the links, here's the stuff, go away and do it. And then also during the day, we also had people tweeting in different silly things that they could build on top of it.
Oh, okay. That's interesting as well, the use of examples. So we tend to go, oh, we have this customer that does this, but just as easily you could say, okay, well, this is a problem that you could solve in this way. Here's a cool problem to solve in this way. Last year we sponsored, or the year before last actually, we sponsored Hack Manchester, which is a very large hackathon in Manchester, and that was a good way where we could go and say, okay, here, do some cool stuff with our API, and also here's some cool stuff that has been done with our API, and we tend to talk about it like that, rather than going, okay, yeah, and yeah, there's definitely, we definitely learn. You were just saying there's also a learning angle to that. I have to repeat it in the microphone. So, but yeah, that's absolutely right. We always Hack Manchester especially. We always come away from it going, oh yeah, they could totally do that, and it informs a lot of the judgments we make about how we're going to make design changes in the future. But that's quite relevant to what you were saying as well, because you're probably talking about speaking to the same sorts of people, like those kinds of, I'm a software vendor, I'm going to be providing this to other people, and that changes your whole marketing strategy, your sales pitch. It kind of targets things quite nicely, doesn't it? You can say, okay, I'm selling to these people, they want to solve this problem, and then so you can tailor it in that way. Has anybody else had any similar experiences? Oh, yeah.
Hey, I actually have a question for you.
Okay.
So in terms of, so you have APIs. How do you train other people on using them? Do you have like a university of some sort, or like a learning management system where you publish courses? I think two of the problems that we usually come across is, well, yes, there's documentation, there's samples, there's even case studies of how other people are using the APIs, but how do you actually handhold someone through the process of learning to get started and actually building something and eventually certifying it, which I guess this gentleman might actually have that solution because he works a lot with integrators.
Yeah.
Like, how do you certify people on that?
Well, that's not actually something Ascendex does a lot of. It's a good idea, and it's something we talked about quite a bit. But I think that what we tend to, our service isn't is different to yours in that if you get a customer on board, in your case, it's going to be a high-value customer. It's worth spending a lot of time with them. In Ascendex's case, the value can be anything from they send a few messages a month to absolutely millions. But actually, so we have to sort of strike a balance between a light touch. Sorry, this has gone off. A light touch in terms of making sure it's easy to use and you can see exactly. We provide lots of information, but we're probably not in a position to sort of handhold people through the development process. Not usually, because we can't necessarily guarantee a return on that investment. But one of the ways, a lightweight way you can do that is a similar thing to what you said. Really, the university idea. Videos are really good for that sort of thing. But we definitely one of the things we struggle with is definitely trying to walk a line between how much handholding do we do through the process of integrating with our API? Because it's easy to use. It's 2 lines of code and you send in a text message. That's not hard to do. But you in this business you find yourself dealing with different levels of developer and different levels of experience, and you have to work out as an organisation. Well, this is kind of where we draw the line. This is how far we can help you. This is kind of on your side. We need you, and that's a difficult thing. We hover back and forth, and the fact that we offer a web application that's aimed at a very different audience puts us in a position where our teams are used to just going, okay, we'll just show you exactly how to do it, and actually we can't do that with the API because we're just writing their code for them, and that's tremendously expensive. So yeah, I don't think we've solved that problem. I think we could probably solve it in a better way. Actually, interesting, we were just releasing another product which uses a telephony, like an in-depth telephony. So it uses a thing called SMPP, which is an in-depth sort of telephony protocol. It's crazy complicated. Like the specification's like 120 pages long. It's really hard, but it's what the industry uses, and a lot of our customers want to use it. But we have to take a rule on that where we're really strict. We say, if you haven't used this before, you can't use it, because we can't afford to handhold you setting up that. The API is slightly different because it's easier to use. It's insanely easy to use. And so that's really easy to say, okay, well, just do this, and we can point you in the right direction. We'll often give them links to where, oh, this is how you consume APIs using, you know, whatever language they're using. It can be pretty niche, but yeah. I think the short answer to that is we haven't really solved that problem yet.
Just on your previous comment about having a product you will sell to people, but only on the basis they've used it before.
Yes.
That seems a bit strange.
Yeah, that's a very niche product, and actually, it's not something that people are commonly going to use. It is something where that is a large. They are already companies that are already large telephony providers and are dealing in very large volumes. That product is aimed at, again, a totally different audience. But that audience, they want to use Ascendex because we have direct connections to mobile networks and that sort of thing, and they want to be able to take advantage of that infrastructure.
So it's a completely different market sector.
It's a whole different market. It's a totally different product. Again, that's an important lesson to learn. Like each time you introduce a new product, you really have to work out what that market is and how different it is from the others. And again, that's a challenge for us because it's a whole new market we've never reached out to before.
So do you have a different product team for that?
It's still me at the moment, but I would like us to go in that direction. Depends how well the product does.
Okay. Thank you.
That's kind of a niche product, to be honest. So maybe not. Any other questions? Okay. We've got 5 minutes left, so thanks very much.
Brought to you by MuleSoft, provider of the industry-leading AnyPoint platform for APIs.